Hi, everybody. You know who it is. It's the spiritual siren. I'm here, back at it again. So I just wanted to just talk to you guys today. Obviously, this is eclipse season. We had our first partial eclipse on Monday, the 7th, and Lion's Gate was the next day, 8/8, and that portal closes tomorrow on the 12th. We have another eclipse coming on the 21st that I'm sure everybody that's watching this video has heard about since it's even being talked about on mainstream media. So, um, bear with me as I go through these messages because I'm just really going to base these messages collectively off of what I have personally experienced and then branch out into how that's a universal message. The reason I do that is because one, I always, during my beginning of my awakening, and still to this day, always saw information that was practical. Being the Virgo that I am, I need practical application because, yes, we can conceptualize and understand broad concepts, right? Philosophical concepts. However, what is more um, like applicable than a practical experience? Because if you go from practicality to philosophy or back in reverse, you're going to understand how it can manifest in your life, even if it's not how it manifests in my life. Um, so first things first, I know some of you guys are probably feeling like triggered, triggered in a big way. And even as a spiritual person, I can say that I've been in more situations in the last, not so much in the last, well, that's a lie, in the last week, but probably since the beginning of Gemini season. I've been getting put in situations, or even since last eclipse season, who am I kidding, back in February, I've been getting put in situations where I've been triggered. And being triggered is just basically feeling some type of way. Somebody does something or says something, usually someone, that you care about or you're involved with in your life somehow. It doesn't have to be, though. And basically, they do something or say something that strikes a chord in you. And what do you do about it? I think when you're first or unconscious or even still working through stuff, when you get triggered, you often like fly off the handle and you react very intensely. No matter what your intensity is or how it's expressed is kind of irrelevant because everyone in their own person is going to express it, whether it be through, freaking out, crying, or yelling, or starting an argument or whatever. But the message I've been getting lately is that getting triggered rather, and knowing that you're getting triggered, right? Not unconsciously flying off the handle, but knowing that you're getting triggered is actually key to stepping into this new level of energy and love that is available on the planet and coming into the planet right now. Why? Why is it good to get triggered? Because if you don't know what's hiding in your subconscious or your unconscious, how are you ever going to clear it? You can never clear it. So basically, obviously, some of you are still going to have traumatic experiences or jarring experiences, and I have too. But the way that you're being, right, your higher self, channeled within you in this consciousness right now in this moment, can traverse it in a much more mature fashion. And when I say mature, I mean from a place of higher, broader perspective. Because when we have the full view of the photo, or at least, like, let's say it's a panoramic photo and you only have half the view, obviously you're going to react a certain type of way that is limited. It's not that you're trying to be mean or cruel or not understanding or whatever, but your view is limited. So as you step into your higher perspective, which many would call their higher self or their guides, I like to also believe that the higher self is the future self, right? The all-knowing self, because one could say that the 3D reality is actually the past because it's already been formulated in spirit. So then it gets transmitted into this reality. So that means that in some regard, we have already lived this moment that we're in right now, which is why we're triggered. We're triggered because we're supposed to feel some type of way. So how dramatic do you want to make it? Do you want to get pissed and throw a fit, or be crying for days, which there's nothing wrong with any of that. Sometimes that's what we need. Or as we go through those experiences and we begin to learn, like, okay, this is opening me up to a broader understanding of not just myself, but everyone, this human experience. Because that's why we came into this dimension. We came into this dimension to experience polarity. And through polarity, we learn what we want and what we don't want, what we like and what we do like. And if we can, this is a big Abraham Hicks teaching, if we can step into the understanding that through the contrast of the other, I am now better able to understand what is mine and what resonates and feels good to me and what may be for you, and that's okay, but it's not for me. Because a lot of our disagreements with others and ultimately within ourselves is us feeling that though as though we need to accept another's behavior, right? Like, okay, that's their truth. So I accept it and I will adopt that behavior because I love them. No. When we go and adopt another person's behavior in hopes of ultimately, right, approval, that they will return our love if we accept their behavior, that means that we're then at the same time denying our own truth. Now, I didn't even think I was going to go there, and I just said a lot. Ooh, okay. So that brings us, right, to relationships. And most people, when they hear the word relationships, they relate back to romance, right? And twin flames and soulmates and and there's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm from the school of belief that soulmates are abundant, and basically any single person we interact with is a soulmate. So I don't take that word too seriously. I just take it as a person that brings forth something in me that I previously did not see. Okay. However, then there's twin flames, and I'm going to tell you my school of thought on that right now just so we can get that out the way. A twin flame to me is an energy that can be embodied in another person, but it isn't necessarily specific to that person, meaning that consciousness may be in that person today, but 2 years from now it may hop to another person, okay? So it's a consciousness. Twin flame is a soul and an energy, just as we in our own body right now are ultimately an energy in a vessel. And that energy is designed to bring up and incite both the most intensely painful and intensely loving connections and energies within our own person, right? I call it like the divine mirror. Not that everyone can't mirror our stuff, but like this is the mirror that like casts no shadows, all is revealed. So there's a lot to be said about people that make us feel that way, that ultimately, they make us feel like what they give us or what they incite in us cannot be found elsewhere, right? Like we have to seek them and have them near us to be able to function or have that trait that they incite in us. However, just like we believe that all people can reflect things back to us, we have to remember that this is just the most intense mirror that you've ever met. So you're seeing parts of yourself that you had no idea existed. So a twin flame ultimately ignites and shows you something in you that has laid dormant even to your own subconscious, which then is naturally, right, as a human being, probably going to make you form an attachment and a holding pattern with that person, right? And then especially for those of you that went from bliss with somebody, like pure bliss, like to all of a sudden it just ended or something changed out of nowhere, that can be very contrasting. And that's what made me realize that twin flame is an energy and a consciousness, and just like anything else, pretty much every relationship, including friendships, work relationships, whatever, ultimately what keeps them together is you guys are on the same vibrational plane in some capacity. Whether, one grows and the other one catches up and then it switches or vice versa. But once the gap between two people's vibration becomes too wide to bridge it, when one person or the other person or both of them together can no longer bridge it, there has to be a separation. So that brings me to the concept of non-attachment, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. And then that always brought up, feelings for me of like, okay, non-attachment, bet. But what about marriage, and what about like being with somebody for the next 40 years? Like, is that not a thing now? And then I think that gets caught up in twin flame, and just like, how do you find this person that's gonna always grow with you. It's gonna always grow with you. It's never gonna change. And right, so I bring that up to bring up, you know, the idea that a lot of us unconsciously, right, ultimately unconsciously, because we're talking about societal programming. And I come from the school of thought that we've all lived several lives. Like, several is probably like an understatement, okay? Um, but I come from the school of thought that we have layers upon layers of programming on our soul. And a lot of times we look for specific occurrences, specific situations in our childhood, or very specific, detailed past life situations and the connections with people in the present day to make understanding of the things that we experience. We wanted to get specific. We wanted to understand really how did it come into fruition completely. And that dwindles our panoramic picture, right? Because we're going broad. So as we continue to go broad, I think it brings up the underlying idea and concept that especially in America, I can't speak on other countries, but definitely this is in the collective in general, and definitely in America, that we unconsciously run monogamous, or rather, the fact that we unconsciously believe that only monogamy is acceptable, and we go out seeking that out of collective approval. So if you think about that concept and the idea that a lot of us get caught up in any type of relationship connection, right? Again, friendship, family, whatever, that we have to always like directly relate to the other, and we have to always do things and compromise, and there's not anything wrong with compromise at its root. Compromise at its root is like, I do something that I feel comfortable with for you, and you do something again that you're comfortable with for me. So if you're comfortable with it, right, ultimately really comfortable on a soul level with it, then it's not actually compromising anything. A lot of us identify the word compromise, I think that was a B. A lot of us identify the word compromise with actually sacrifice. And I can't speak on men because I'm not one, but I will say that women and people that identify as women, I would think, again, I can't speak for that because, I'm just me, but we have this program, right? From years and years and years on this planet, where at least for the last 1,000 years, women were, you know, going to die if they didn't marry. They were going to die. Like, whether it be because then they have no, like, bourgeoisie protection, or they have no money and they can't, or they can't provide for themselves, they can't get a roof over their head. Like, we have been forced as beings to pair off for survival. Whether it be because of like literal survival tactics, like using the earth, right? Or, as things went on with financial economy in America and all these other places, like money was a factor, right? Having to have a certain amount of money. And that's still a factor. I mean, hello, look at this world. Like, most people, that build families, it's all this gain for money. And how do you figure out who pays for what? And everything costs something, right? Everything comes at a price, whether it be physically in this 3D world or energetically. Everything comes at a price. So I think it's really, really important to ask ourselves, especially as Saturn still sits at the end of Sagittarius and it's still in retrograde. It goes direct this month, the 25th, right before my birthday. Okay? That what price are you willing to pay for happiness, for freedom, for love, for bliss? On a soul level. Like, think about that. And when you start to really like dig into that, I think a lot of us are either unconsciously still, subconsciously, or consciously realizing that they have been paying way too high of a price for love and companionship of any kind. Look at my face. Way too high of a price. I know I have. I've been paying way too high of a price for love and companionship. Like, I'm fucking amazing. You're fucking amazing. You know, excuse my language, but actually don't, because that is how you describe it. Um, but we're amazing by ourselves without changing or doing anything. And there's no reason why compromise should even be on the table in love, really. You know, I know people do it when children are involved and you're building a family. And again, that's different. Like I said, it has to be comfortable on a soul level. I'm sorry, I gotta put these back on. It's so hard for me to stare at that little camera screen, the dot. Um, but yeah, like, are you paying a soul price for love that is fucking hefty? Are you? In some way, in some shape or form, you probably are. You know, I'm not here to judge or tell people what they are or aren't doing, but probably there's a probably good chase. So for me, it came up with a situation that has been in my life for almost a decade. And I started to, you know, it came to me through a totally synchronistic way. Like I was watching a TV show that I've never seen before, and it brings up this dynamic that totally reminds me of me and this person. And I'm like, really? So then I'm like, I pull an astrology chart and I add this asteroid point that I've never added before, and I had no idea what it even really like added to the chart or what an aspect to it made. But whatever, I just clicked it because I've learned that's how my guidance works. Click it, boom. That point in my chart is that person's birthday. Therefore, their sun is conjunct this point. I go down to a rabbit hole. Any of you that have done spiritual research of any kind to understand yourself, I know you know what kind of rabbit hole I was in, okay? I dig down the rabbit hole. I start peeling back all these layers, all these layers. And what I discovered was that, ooh, I don't know. Anyways, what I discovered was that this relationship, right, is that I have with this person is in the place that it's in, not because neither of us have love for each other, you know, but it's in this position because myself for sure, and the other person as well, had preconceived notions and expectations after all these years still of how when you love somebody, you form a relationship, right? What kind of relationship are we supposed to form when we feel some type of way about somebody, when we love somebody? And everyone's answer will be different. But I think ultimately, deep down, especially as it relates to non or like opposite sex relationships, or in relationships in which one person has the propensity to be sexually or romantically attracted to another person, especially in those relationships, unconsciously, we feel that the only way I think that they can be appropriate or like stand or whatever, if you have love like that for somebody, is that if you're together or you at least try to be together and then you become exes, and that's even more awkward, right? But like that's that's like so silly. Like and it sounds silly even now me saying it, but like how many of us really struggle to have platonic friends, especially be platonic friends with somebody that at one point or another there was a sexual relationship, or there was at least feelings or sexual feelings. Like, come on, guys, for real. Like, okay. Now there's exceptions to every rule, but like, you know, we're just being general. Excuse me, my foot is falling asleep. So, yeah, like, so I realized, like, wow, I've denied this level of love in my life, right? This level of companionship, this level of soul understanding, solely because the relationship was not definable in the way that I ultimately desired. And I was like, but why? You know, you've changed that in other relationships. Why haven't you changed it in this one? And that led me to the place of realizing that I carried a lot of shame and guilt and fear for the other person involved. Meaning, I had restricted my interactions and way of relating to this person strictly out of fear that me allowing them in my life would then make them regret potentially a potential form of interaction we would have. Like, what? Like, oh my god, my leg. Like, what? You know? It like doesn't even make sense when I say it, but trust me, if you start to examine your like estranged relationships that there's still like, you know, it's like there was no actual bad blood. You just kind of like couldn't figure out how to get it on track. I guarantee that's why. Okay? Now, that's not to say that people every single person you know or have known or have had a connection with should be in your life all the time on a daily basis. No, that's not this at all. Okay? But are you carrying shame, fear, or guilt around about the other people that you're interacting with? Are you being 100% authentic? Because when I tapped into that, I felt like I like walked through like this like beaming door, honestly, truly, because I was like, wow, I'm free to do whatever I want. And I love and I understand love, and unconditional love comes in so many forms. So who am I to put a limitation on it? Which brings me back to monogamy and the concept of us feeling like if we love someone, we have to be with them romantically, we have to make them our partner, we have to formulate some type of long-term relationship with them. And I think a lot of us do this unconsciously as a pressure, a societal pressure. But what if we were all default polyamorous? Okay, obviously with consent. But if what if our default imprint was to be polyamorous? If we then chose monogamy, it would be from such a conscious place that I don't even think cheating or any of those worries or concerns would even be given life. Like I don't even think life could be breathed into them. Okay? Because if you think about a lot of the issues people that are dating or even married still, you know, in today's world are having a problem with is primarily that there's not enough honesty and disclosure about what each individual needs or wants or desires to feel free, complete, and whole. Okay? Wholeness is the ultimate message that I have today, and that's what I'll title the video. But if we are denying a part of ourselves, whether that be sexual desire of someone outside of our relationship, of to not be tethered down even though you want a family, or, you know, like all these different formats and ways that relationships can format. Again, sexual, non-sexual, there are so many ways that we can connect to others. But I think we've all put a lot of unconscious boundaries on all of them. And if we're willing to come at life, and again, human to human connection in general, we're willing to come at it from a polyamorous point of view, meaning you give me A, I give you A, this person gives me B, I give them B and C, they have someone else for C, and I don't feel taken advantage of when I give them C, and then I get paid for E and D, and that person pays me back for D, E, and F. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone has a role in our life. And it's not really up for us to decide what type of role they're supposed to play by placing a label or a boundary, like a, and not like a boundary in which you're infringed upon, but like a bound or like a rule for them. Like, okay, you have to show up in my life this type of way. I feel love for you. I feel connected to you. I feel a soul, long distance, past connection to you. So therefore, you have to show up in my life in this way. Like, nah, this is 5D, 5D and beyond. We're stepping into something big here. Okay, so I really encourage you guys, for the issues that you have that seeming to be coming together and falling apart, whether it be family members, friends, lovers, whatever, coworkers, like, really ask yourself, like, is it wrong of me to only take the parts that I like about this person and give them the parts of myself that are in equal exchange to that, and leave the rest, because the rest is not for me to decide, like the rest is not for me to worry about. It is not my job to worry about the fact that homegirl in HR, you know, she keeps eating meat even though like she already had 2 heart attacks, so I don't like her and I don't talk to her now because I can't stand that she deteriorates her body, right? There's an example. Well, nah, you can just never talk to her about food and wave hi in the hallway and give her that love. And maybe that unconditional love will actually open up a conversation where one day She's going to be like, you know what, Sarah? I finally watched What the Health. By the way, I did not watch What the Health. I'm already vegetarian, been this way for 2 years. And I want to start doing meatless Mondays. Can you tag me in some posts on Instagram? Like, because unconditional love moves mountains. Now, it's important not to have expectations for what your unconditional love can do for another person. Because I guarantee in every scenario, not to say like who's above and who's below, but like in every scenario, primarily that you interact with in life, one person is going to be at a higher octave than the other person. There's nothing wrong with that. There are times where two of us come together equally, but you know those moments. They resonate strongly. So I also want to give you guys some tips on how to deal with this, and how to address this energy. One, I know anxiety for even those of us that have done a lot of clearing is like at an all-time high. So I cannot even begin to stress the importance of meditation right now. Like, and I'm not the type of person to like meditate in a traditional way on a regular basis, but I've been meditating because it's like intense. I'm gonna tag a future self meditation that Hasnea, who's a spiritual practitioner and teacher, she created the other day, and I did it, and it put me through some type of portal. I ended up knocking out for 3 hours. It was intense. So I'm gonna tag her below. That's a really good meditation. Obviously, you can do whatever kind you want, but I think future self meditation is really powerful right now, because me personally, when I pray or I do any type of ritual and I'm asking to connect with spirit, I always call upon my higher self. And that's extremely important. Ooh, there's a bee on me. Excuse me, bee. I'll have to Google bee messengers later. I forget. I know they're the hive and they're the royalty, and it's Leo season. So, and she sat on, well, actually it was a male because he was thinner. Sat on my right side, which is the male side. So this is about taking action. Okay? Take action on what makes you feel royal and regal. Like, this is boss up energy. Like hashtag get your life. Like, shine like a diamond. Like, seriously. I forgot what I was saying. Anyways, meditation. And I always call on my higher self. And I think it's really important when you're in an anxious moment, right? When you're in an anxious moment and you're getting into a space, okay? You're getting into a space. Y'all that have anxiety know exactly what I'm talking about. You're like in public, and even though you got your selenite and you got your black tourmaline, you're like, ooh, what's happening right now? One of my favorites is I am safe, grounded, and secure. Okay? Now, mind you, affirmations are only as powerful as you believe them to be, because spirit responds to vibration. So sometimes affirmations are not helpful in anxiety because you're too far gone. With that being said, I was having a moment like that the other day, and I found a new technique, and I said, higher self, please come forward with me now, as I know you are my future self, and I know that ultimately you have the wisdom and knowledge to know what is happening now in this moment. So please step into, my channel, or step in with me into this moment and guide me through to the truth, right? Guide me through to the end. Guide me through to the moment of completion. Walk me out the door. There's a lot of things that you can say, but your higher self knows what it is. And this goes actually into something else I was experiencing this past week, which is a new level of relating to the inner child. And our inner child is often going through crisis and manifesting some form of crisis out into our body, or out into our world to get attention, right? Like a tantrum. So my inner child has tantrums through anxiety, especially surrounding health and health issues. I'm such a Virgo, like it's ridiculous. So what I realized was, okay, what did I want most as a child, right? What does my inner child want most? What did I want most as a child? Well, I think I wanted what most children want, which was my parents' basically undivided attention, right? I wanted a parent that was so in tune with me and so understanding of me and focused on me and one with me, right? Understanding me, that I didn't have to go into crisis or have a temper tantrum for them to know that something was wrong. And I mean that from like a place of like, okay, not, basically like, how some parents or you see parents and children, some of them you can see as soon as the child changes their facial expression, the parent knows what's up, especially the mother. The mother will know what's up. Then there's times where you don't have that connection. And again, we all draw our own experiences, so it's not about what is right or what is wrong. However, my inner child wanted a very harmonized psychic connection with its parents. And I didn't have that. So I was like, well, I'm old enough and capable now to be my own parent, be my own inner parent to my inner child. So how can I give my inner child that connected, psychic, instant knowing, soothing, that type of love and connection that they don't even have to start crying for me to feed its needs, which led me to get out of anxiety. Also mudras. That's another thing I ended up using was mudras. If you Google mudra for whatever your issue is, it will come up. Mudras are hand gestures that I believe they're from Eastern culture, but they're part of yoga, and I think it changes the energy or the chi in the body. Totally works. Takes a little bit of time, maybe 15 minutes, but totally works. Anyway, so I was like, you have the knowledge now. The beauty of healing the inner child is like, you're not a child anymore. You're not. And I know for those of us that have abandonment issues, I know a lot of it when we get upset or we're in a space and we're having a crisis, it's like, woe is me. When is anybody ever going to save us or save me or come to my rescue? Like, I'm so sick of doing everything myself. But guess what? Until you're willing to use your knowledge from right here in this moment and beyond to give yourself what you need, nobody will ever come meet your needs. Ever. And I think what a lot of us want more than coddling and connection and closeness, because I mean, we do want that, but I think more than we want that with others, we want it with ourselves. And I think once we start to give it to ourselves in a lot more fuller capacity, we realize that we don't even really want these other relationships that we've been struggling to hold on to, that we've been explaining ourselves for. That's another thing. A lot of us are out here, even spiritual people are out here explaining ourselves for why we feel the way that we do or why that we hold the truth that we do. And that is a trap. Every time you explain yourself, you're giving away your power. And it's essential to stand strong, especially right now. Leo is all about the heart. It's the sun and it's the heart. Okay, so what radiates from your heart and makes you you? Nothing else matters. Nothing truly else matters. I guess I'll pull some cards. I don't know. I'm just going to shuffle. But guys, please feel free to comment about your whatever experiences you're having now or have been having or going to have towards the eclipse. I hope I didn't make this too off topic. I hope this video is not too long either. I apologize. It's hard for me to stay on topic. All right. Queen of Wands in the Tower. So yeah, man, we all need to realize that especially for the ladies watching, but for the gentlemen too, you're a badass bitch. This is the single badass bitch of the tarot. And I love this card too. I'm feeling earthy with her right now. I love this card too because she has a cat, and cats are so, again, regal, and my cat tends to lay with his paws out like a sphinx. And I hope you guys know cats were honored in ancient Egypt. They're so powerful. But what we're all really waking up to is our inner Queen of Wands, that part of you that is so fierce and undeniably you, and at the same time feminine and sexy and whatever that means for you, right? It's a radical awakening. It's you are so much more than what you've been playing yourself to be. This is the energy to me that is makes me want to tell people kiss my ass. Not even in a rude way, just in a kiss my ass. Cause life is good, man. Please, 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 if you have a Twitter account, follow me on Twitter, because I channel this information live as I'm experiencing it, and it's probably in a lot nicer of a form, because when I'm directly channeling into a tweet or writing, it just sounds better. It's more concentrated. But yeah, abracadabra bitches, we're about to make shit happen. yeah, like be fiercely you. And I think a lot of us are coming into a new understanding of what that means. I know that I used to fear that if I truly embodied all my desires and my wants and my needs, that I would then be, stepping on somebody else's toes or potentially hurting a third party or the other person I'm involved with or whatever. And it's like, no, because ultimately I have an amazing integrity. I am connected. I do everything that I can to evolve and dig deep in my soul. So why am I over here holding guilt and shame that somebody that may encounter me or may encounter someone else that incurred my actions that were selfish? Yeah, selfish, right? That they're then hurt. Who am I to decide who gets what karma? Because that's a lot of the guilt and shame that we carry too. Like that's old Catholic guilt, like old ingrained ancient Catholic guilt of like, if you do XYZ, you're gonna burn in hell, and your soul is gonna be tarnished, and you're gonna incur 25 more years of karma. Like I realized I was worried about that. I realized that I was stopping my Queen of Wands sex appeal shine and my creative shine, and all my desires were getting, put out. I was putting out my own fire because what if somebody's hurt by what I do? Like if you're in alignment with your heart, and when you're feeling good, feeling type, right? It doesn't matter. Everything else is for the universe to decide. For God, spirit, source, all that is, they decide. Okay? We are not the judge and the jury. Like, yep. It's dead out here. All that other stuff, that weak love, that like very like mediocre love. Because you know what? Page of Cups can be like sweet, right? Amuse energy. Like, oh, look I have this innocent offering of love for you, right? This is inner child too. But it's like our old way of identifying with the inner child, it's dead. We're no longer restricted and trapped in acting and thinking and speaking from a place of our inner child. This is like end to tantrums in relationships and stepping into our badass bitch energy. Sorry for the men that are watching. Like you gonna be that dude. Don't worry, you gonna be that dude. Okay, and you're gonna attract yourself a Queen of Wands that is not expecting you to put an engagement ring on her finger 2 weeks from now, and is just gonna enjoy your company. Okay, more love is available to you. You're gonna step into something more mature. You're leaving behind this old expression. Yep, karma's coming up to get cleared. Wow, it fell into justice. Like, again. Oh my God. I was talking to someone on Twitter one day about these two cards, actually, and we were saying how in a love relationship, this is like not the worst two cards to get, but there's like nothing to say. Because these two cards, out of all the cards in the tarot, are all about like, Spirit's going to handle it. Spirit's going to handle it. And all the dirt that needs to get handled or sprinkled about, all the people that did you wrong, all the wrongs you did, whatever, that doesn't get determined by you. Your job is to go forward into variety, right? This planet will always be a variety. I don't even think we're going to live in a lifetime where it's not like a polarity, okay? Which brings me to the concept of wholeness. And ultimately, that is what we're stepping into. Because as we break away from these codependent patterns, the only way we're going to break away from codependent patterns in relationship is if we bring our divine feminine and our divine masculine into a divine heart unity, right? With our future self, higher self, and then come forward, and then engage, and then create, and then love, and then, whatever. So until we can have wholeness with another, and that's wholeness in honesty, wholeness of the way that people show up with you, the way people engage with you, and all those things, until we can embody. This is what I channeled before too. The root of freedom, right? Right? The root of freedom is ultimately, until we can embody it in ourselves, which is a feeling of being untethered and not worried about how another is going to, really perceive you or be affected by you and your truth. Knowing that you're in your truth needs to be enough. It needs to be enough now. You need to believe that you being whole and happy and full is enough. And that alone will incite change in others and bring forward to you people that are also interested in wholeness and expansion. Okay? I really don't know how to end this. because I could low-key listen to myself talk for like ever. But we'll end it on a Palo Santo note because everybody needs a good cleanse. Like, everybody. Be free. And whatever that means for you, because it's going to mean something different for everybody. Please be free. There will always be some level of polarity in your world, some level of this is me over here and that's you over there, and I don't know how or if I can bridge the gap. But as we come into more acceptance with who we are and the fact that we're just ourselves, and that's not going to be okay for everybody, people become more okay with that. And they still want to be around you, or they still want to interact with you, or they still, at least, at the very least, they respect you. And that is what is going to bring humanity into unity, into one. I actually have a post about this on my Instagram from late June, when I saw a solar ring on the day of the full moon. Okay? So this is long coming. I cannot even begin to express. This energy will hit you all in waves, but I cannot even begin to express how long run this energy is. So anything that is falling apart in your life right now, I urge you to bless it with a thank you. Thank you, Spirit, for taking away all that does not serve me, all that is not in alignment with my highest and best path for my soul's most expansive expression and evolution on this planet at this moment in time. Love you guys.